So in this session we're going to have a look at how to enrol an employee or an administrator onto a Suprema BioStation 2. So normally when we're enrolling fingers we try to enrol the first index fingers as our sort of primary source. If we're struggling enrolling those particular fingers, then we would then switch to middle fingers, and then last case scenario would be thumbs. So we'll try to do it in that sort of order. Normally when we are enrolling a member of staff, we try to guide them through the best way of positioning the finger on the sensor. So we tell them to press your finger down onto the sensor with a little bit of force, but not too hard. The idea being is that you're trying to have a nice flat surface area of the finger. It's very important to try to get a really good fingerprint enrolment initially, because it's always going to be using that initial template for comparing people's fingers when they come to clock in and clock out. So getting the first one right is really important. So what we'll do is we'll go straight into the screen. Go into user is the first option here. Press OK. And we've got a number of options in there. Add user is what we're going to be doing first. So the first option, I'll just scroll in, zoom in a little bit so we can see that better. So the first option is an ID number. So here we can enter the person's payroll number or employee number or whatever number it is that you want to use on there. So I'll just put a random number in there. You can, if you want to, put in the person's name using the screen, using the display, but sometimes that can be a little bit time consuming. Not everybody wants to put the name in, or sometimes what we can do is, if you're using the Focus software, we can get the name from the software and then apply that to that person's fingerprint template after the enrolment's occurred, which makes life a little bit quicker. So what we'll do is we'll pop down to fingerprint. So I think in this occasion we're just going to do a finger only enrolment. So if I press, it's got 0 at the moment, which tells me for this employee I've got 0 fingers enrolled. So if I press the right arrow key, it's asking me to start enrolment. I'll just zoom out a little bit there. So I'll place my first finger in, and then asks me to verify that finger. Okay, that now says, basically it's suggesting, do I want to continue doing more enrolments? So I'll say OK to that, and I'm going to enrol a second finger. So I'm going to go for my index finger on my other hand. Okay, now it's asking me if I want to enrol yet another finger, which I can do if I want to. I can roll up to 10 fingers per employee. So I'll just press OK, and we'll do a third finger. Okay, so it's pretty quick, and what we'll do at that stage, we'll just press escape, and you can see there it's got, if I zoom in a little bit, it's telling me that I've got 3 fingerprints enrolled for this user. If I scroll down a little bit, I can choose user level. Zoom in again. So at the moment that's none, so that would just be like a typical employee, just for clocking out, clocking in only, has no access to the menu whatsoever. Or we've got different levels of operative that we can select. So administrator, basically if you are an administrator, you can get into the menu and you can do any function whatsoever on the device. Configuration allows you to do a slightly less amount of things within the menu, but still quite a lot. And user management just allows you to do add new employees and remove them and re-enroll them. So I'm just going to stick with none, just to be a normal employee. We've got start date and expiry date. Normally we just leave those exactly as they are. We normally leave security level and duress and authentication mode all just as their defaults, is what we typically do. So if we press OK there, it says, do we wish to add this user, and we'll press OK to confirm, and the user has now been registered. So if I zoom back out again and escape out of that menu, if I wanted to put my finger in the device, it comes up straight away to acknowledge who I am, employee number 12345. Like I say, if we had the person's name in there, it would show us their name when they're clocking. So pretty simple. What we'll do now is if I go back into the menu and OK that, what I could do is try to edit this user. So if I zoom in again, if I do go down to search user, and then I can search for a number of different ways. So I could do it by ID number, which I think is how I'm going to do it in this occasion. So I'm just going to type 12345 in there. It's told me that that user's been found, and we'll press OK. So we're back into editing our employee that we were looking at just earlier. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try and add a card or a fob to this person's record. So if I just press the right arrow key there, I have a fob here. I'm going to zoom out so you can see that. And I'm just going to present the fob, and it's read the number which is encoded on the fob. It's actually also written on this fob, and that's it. It just needs to read it once. Do I wish to continue? And we'll say escape to that. So we've got one card registered to this user now. So if we just press OK, do we like to add this user? Yes, OK, user registered. So let's come back out of the menu and let's try clocking this person in just using their fob. And there we go, 12345. So the person can either use their finger or their fob to clock. Now we can also clock in using a combination of the person's employee number and their finger. So I can just type that in, press OK, and then put my finger in, and there we go. So that actually does, rather than an identify, it does a verify. So because it's a two-stage process, I've told it who I am by typing in 12345, and then by putting in my finger afterwards, it's doing a one-to-one comparison between the finger that I have registered against 12345 and the finger it's just reading from the scanner. So sometimes in certain circumstances that might be a more accurate way of ensuring that that member of staff is actually who they are. But generally speaking, most scenario is that everybody just uses finger only. So if we go back into the user configuration again, we've got a couple of other options. We've got an option there that says delete all user. Sometimes on the BioStation 2 you might see that as shown as delete user, which is possibly slightly lost in translation. So delete all user will obviously delete all user will obviously remove every single employee from the clocking terminal itself. So that's quite a drastic thing to do. You'd certainly want some to take a backup of the people's templates before you did that, or to be really sure as to what you were doing. So if I wanted to look at my user again, go back to search user. I'm going to do it by fingerprint this time. So I'm just going to put my finger in, and it's found me straight away, and I'm going to OK. So what I could do now is change the user level to be administrator, for example. So I'll click on OK there. Do I wish to add this user? OK. Right, and then what I'll do is I'll escape out of the menu, and now that we have an administrator set up, if I try to go into the menu now by pressing escape, it won't let me straight in. It's asking me for an administrative finger to get into the menu. So I'd now have to put my finger in to get into that menu. So So we can look at doing that by also using a fob to do it, because that employee also had a fob assigned to them as well. If you wanted to change that user again, we're doing a lot of things with this user. Again, I'll acknowledge it by fingerprint only. So the other thing that we could do is enter a PIN number for that person. So we'll have a PIN number of, I don't know, 654321, and we'll verify that. And I'm going to change it to not be an administrator anymore, just to be known. Okay, so now that we've got a PIN number, if I was to try to clock in now, I have a number of other options. So I could, if I wanted to, just type in my employee number, which would be 12345, and OK that. It's asking me for a finger or a pin. So if I was to type my PIN number in, and OK that, that's clocked me in. So that's clocked me in just using the keypad only, without using a finger, without using a card or a fob. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to look at, really, with the BioStation 2 regarding enrolment. Thank you very much for looking.